Yes.
And it's like, we're totally off the screen, getting rid of other things. And ta-da! Here we are. Hey, welcome to February 12th. I think I might have wrote the 11th on the description. Oh, well. So if that's the case, then happy birthday again to my little brother, who's not so little. He's actually just really handsome grown man now. Doesn't have permission to capture our screen.
I'm just trying to make the screen bigger.
Oh, I'm like,
it's
what?
Not working.
What do you mean? It says we're live.
Whoa. Look at that. I did it. But
I have no idea how that just happened, but it's kind of nice to be able to see us and act like we're talking to somebody versus us that's like this big on the screen.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So it's February 12th. Welcome to the February 12th edition of Living Courageously Exposed with your host, Jennifer Saunders and
Leah, spelled Ligia. But
I guess the joke is we spell my name JJ.
Yes.
So this is a broadcast where we come together and we really make being human normal. And I can see the script in my mind, but it is so not coming to me right now.
What is it really about?
It's really just about living authentically and unapologetically and practicing that live and unscripted and giving you permission to do the same. It's a place where we get to listen to other people's stories and their lived experience in a human form on this planet, and about getting to share our own and the learning and the growth and the fall down and get dirty in the mud moments, and making all of that normal.
Yeah, because what's normal is like putting on these facades and these masks and these personas, and we put on so much stuff that we don't realize it one day, and we've like got this big, heavy, like concrete body armor that's used to protect who we really are. And that's what I feel like this podcast is about. It's just helping us remove those layers and normalize that.
Mm-hmm. So I love it. Well, I love it. I love when you talk about that piece of you, and I recall the moment when you said to me, "Oh my God, I'm just having this moment where I feel like that character, that Marvel character," and I don't know his name because I'm not a Marvel fan.
I think it's Thing.
Is it Thing?
I think so.
We should actually look it up.
I did. I think his name is Thing.
Phone? Anyway, that's my phone, not iPhone.
Yeah, his name is Thing. He looks like this.
Yeah.
See how his skin is like pieces of concrete and stone, and like.
So she was just talking about how one of those pieces had been ripped off and had just the raw, fleshy skin that it protects.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's so funny as you say protecting the skin. I ran my finger over a place where I got burned the other day, and the actual outside flesh has come off of it, and so there's this little tender. Y'all know what like getting burned feels like, and having that. And the reality is, it only hurts for a little bit, and then it heals, and it's stronger, and blah 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 blah. Blah.
So with that, let's maybe get into breathing.
Okay.
And refocus.
Yeah, well, we start with a little breathing. Well, I was thinking when we're talking about being in a space where we're normalizing being human and taking the shame out of being human and the experiences that happen to us. And this morning we've been working on a project that I've been unknowingly working on for years. And it's going to be put in book form. Thank you to Leah, because she's insistent. She's insistent that I step into who I am, which I'm so grateful for, because it's how I feel about you. It's how I feel about myself. But Leah has the knowledge and the skills to actually take some of those things and make them happen in a easier, more quicker fashion than if I were to sit down and try and do it on my own.
Well, I think we get overwhelmed with the process, and it feels daunting.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you've already done the work. Like, it's already been done.
That piece. So we're pulling it all together for book form. So this morning we've just been in in conversations with that, as we're dipping crepes in yogurt and having fruit and just enjoying the morning. The sun is actually shining here. So I was sitting in the sunshine and I said, oh my gosh, we got to do a podcast. And we put on new clothing. I did put on a new top because check it out. We have new designs. This is one of them. That's another one of them.
So this one says rebel with a cause.
Rebel with a cause.
And this one
and
is
notice the B. The B is because we're all about being.
Be bold, be courageous, be a rebel.
And I love that design because it's designed with birds, and then we put broken chains in the air with the birds. So, and I thought, I'm just going to get on. And I'm just going to get on and do the podcast. And then I went into they call it the washroom here. And I happened to catch a glance in the mirror and I was like, nope, I'm not going to. Like, this is life. This is being human. And luckily I have a hairdo where I can just do that. But
and it's done. Wow.
It's done. I know, right?
Shake it up.
That's just giggling. You had said something about just the normalizing humanness and just that, you know what, sometimes it's just like rough and ragged and it feels rough and ragged and like it's just messy. So we're going with the messy today.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
I did put a hat over there in case I got tired of the messy, but you want to leave breathing?
I like to put my hand on my heart. It helps me get grounded. And I'm just going to invite you, if you want to close your eyes or look down. If you're driving, don't do that.
Yeah.
But just take a second and really just notice what the breath feels like when it's coming into your body. Feel how your chest opens up and follow your breath all the way down past your sit bones, down to your knees, and all the way down to your toes. Wiggle your toes and then bring it right back up and out.
Can I add in that as you're breathing, you're breathing deep, like see if you can expand your chest in all the directions, outward, sideways.
Yeah, be really intentional about that and just notice how it feels different. And you can also, as you're breathing in, breathe in the things that you want to nourish your body, things that you're grateful for, things that bring you joy, that make you smile, that just make you feel grateful to be alive. And then breathe out all the negativity that we can hold in our body, whether it's a memory or a judgment that we have, a way of thinking that's not serving us, and we can breathe that out. And you can do one cycle on your own or more if you want to keep going.
You can breathe through this whole podcast if you want. In fact, I'd recommend breathing through this whole podcast. Like,
yeah, I just love, so in yoga, I've been really drawn to that in the last couple months. And my favorite part is at the end. You've done this, sometimes it can be quite a workout. And at the end, you just have 3 to 5 minutes to just chill and be with yourself and give gratitude for what you've just done. And I just love the thoughts that pop in when you slow down and just insights and inspirations or just like, wow, I did that.
Okay.
Like you take a second to celebrate yourself.
Absolutely. And I love the lemongrass towel that they give you. I actually just lay it across my face, but not everyone. Like I know what you're saying. That's my experience too. But it's also been my experience at times, and I know someone listening may feel the same thing. Of like sometimes you don't want to slow down because you don't want to see what's there, or you don't want to feel that. Whether you're conscious of it or not, we keep ourselves so busy and so moving and so all the things that sometimes it's scary to actually slow down and feel the things. And so how would you address that? Like, have you ever had that experience in your world?
Seriously?
Did you like
that?
How
Hardly feels
did you
fair.
Like how professional I was with that question?
that
totally know
that
what I was
hardly
asking.
feels fair. I'm like, it because I read you stuff that I had written.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I just know it's been something that's been in our conversations lately. And it's because it's what we all do. We all do it until we learn how to recognize that we are more than okay when we slow down, when we can actually see and feel and recognize what has us so freaking wound up and thinking we have to be going 110 miles an hour. We have to be doing this. We have to have our hands in that. We have to spin that circle. We have to have that play going. We have to juggle this, and we have to be perfect in this, and we have to have all that, and we have to have our picture all like, you know the feeling.
Yeah.
I know you know the feeling. Because sometimes it's scary. I think maybe that's one of the reasons, one of the resistances, this is just now coming to me. One of the resistances I may have had in regards to practicing yoga is I love sports. I love the activeness of that. I love being able to push myself and work myself like the way this beautiful body works and knows how to like move or hit a shot or instinctively do something or mess something up. And I love that piece of it. And I think the slowness of yoga, unbeknownst to me, was a place where I have to feel. I don't have to. You absolutely can do yoga and not feel. Like you can do anything and not feel. But when I allowed, what did make me feel uncomfortable because it's new. Mm-hmm. I don't love being a kindergartner. Always the new thing. But once I really allowed myself to get into it and to drop self-consciousness, and to just be like, it's okay to be new. Like I would learn a sport or I would learn something else. And I started, and I've had this happen in other places. Like I've learned how to do this. It's just interesting to see how it plays out inside of the yoga because I'm also a huge believer that our body is the slowest body that we learn things in. We have an energy body, we have an emotional body, we have a spiritual body, we've got this physical body, and the physicality is the hardest, is that how I want to say it? It takes the longest to learn the lesson. If we don't learn it out here and we've got to learn it in here. So I think
like
for
this
me,
is where pain plays out and tiredness.
Absolutely, things get stuck. Like if you don't catch it out here, you're gonna catch it in your body somehow because it wants your attention. So I think that's for me, yoga is being able to. It's a little different than the meditation because I can get my body involved in it, and the movement of that I think has helped with just helping move stuff through and fill it out in a different way than when I'm just sitting or laying in meditation. And my meditation also can be out running and walking the hills, which is my favorite part because I'm moving my body's into the motion of that. But it's also easier to get distracted.
Yeah.
When I'm out doing those things.
Well, so your question was about busyness.
Have you ever felt the intense need to not slow down because fear of what you might feel?
I don't know if that I knew that consciously. The answer is yes, of course. That's where I lived most of my adult life. It's only
just your adult life? I'm just curious. I know her story.
And I'm like, what part of my story are you getting to?
Any of it.
I think mostly
the stress
in
part.
I don't think I saw it that way as in my teen years.
Oh, okay.
So I'm talking my
when
adult life
from
the time I became a mom.
Okay.
Because I went from being a teenager to being a mom. So in my time of being a mom, I had such a hang up with I need to be super mom because one, I was a young mom. Two, I was in a I knew it at the time, but I was trying to make it okay. A questionable kind of relationship where people might have judgment because there was a large age gap. So I had something to prove. And because I had something to prove, I just kept going and doing more. And I had to be the best at everything, not necessarily to make it okay for everyone else, but to make it okay within myself. And I had to be everything to my family. And I think a lot of us take on that role as moms and as dads, in how we want to provide and be there for a family. I think the distraction, like I ran myself constantly. I literally had this idea of like, how the heck do people watch TV? How do you even have time for TV? Because, you know, you're balancing everything, because you're wanting to be there for your community, your family, your extended family, your partner's extended family. Like, I wanted to be all
everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody who comes into your circle that you think you can help, like, you're just
Yeah.
going to add them in.
Yeah.
You're going to add the task in. You're going to add the, I get it. I get it in a different way.
Yeah.
But I get it.
For sure. It reminds me of what we were listening to the other day about the idea of like narcissists and empaths, that they're almost one and the same.
Okay, can we make it clarification? Can we just make this clarification? Narcissist right now is, in my opinion, it's a very big buzzword.
Yeah.
It's something that's put out there. It's talked about a lot. Narcissism, I really don't believe there are too many people who are actual narcissists. Now, I do not have a PhD in this. I have not studied this through educational places. But listening to people who have, there's a lady, a doctor who has a doctorate in this, says there really are not very many pathological narcissists, but there are people, plenty of us, including myself and you, who show narcissistic tendencies or behaviors at certain points in our world. And some people display them often as a way, like, and they display far more of them, and obviously. And so when we use the word narcissist, P.S., we're not calling anybody a narcissist.
Yeah.
It's the term that's out there really big right now. And you know what? I'm grateful that it's out there, because it's been very educational in helping understand certain relationships with people and with ourselves.
Them.
Yeah. And
how to not continually be drawn into, not in a way of labeling that person, but recognizing what are the behaviors and how to protect yourself so you don't get drawn into what they call the feeding of that, of those traits.
Yeah, the emotional energy. And so I just want to clarify, we're not calling anybody a narcissist when we use that word. We're talking about behaviors and patterns that are often shown, knowing that at moments we all do that at times to have our needs met or to protect, or it's just
making me think of I only bring it up because I feel the same kind of thing with the word empath, but empath also has more of a virtuous feel to it, or I'm just so giving. I'm so, I'm just taking on everyone's, like,
definitely
it has a martyr feel to it.
In my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. But I also have to recognize in my world that I didn't have that labeling, but if I'm honest with myself and look back, part of my give to everyone else was a way to get my own needs met, that even if it wasn't said, I was seeking approval. I was seeking validation. I was seeking ways to have my needs met. That's fascinating. It looks like our feed is all crackly, and that makes me really sad. So I'm not sure.
Here, what the heck is going on?
So on either side of the spectrum of narcissist or empath, really what I hear in that is I'm trying to get my needs met, and I'm afraid that if I don't behave this way, I'm not going to be seen. I'm not going to be valued. I have no worth. And I know my busyness was a lot to prove myself and find worth. And I think part of what I was reflecting this morning was almost a grieving of like how distracted I was and how anxious I was thinking I'm just doing everything. I notice, people like your daughter or other people in my world, how they get ready for the day or they get ready for a meeting or a gathering. And it's just so chill. It has such a calm vibe. And I think of all the places in my world where I was like trying, like it felt like I was always scrambling.
Mhm.
And just how I just want to do that piece different, honor who I was then, and I did the best I knew how to do then, but that I don't have to continue being that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that energy also, because I was balancing so many dang things, I was very forgetful. I wasn't present. And I got the nickname, oh, she's just a Dory. And I remember when my world was shifting, just having the recognition of like, I'm actually more organized. I'm actually remembering things and just like feeling teary and looking at you. I'm like, I don't have to be a Dory. Like, I don't have to be this person anymore.
That was such a stark moment of like, it was such a beautiful moment to witness and experience with you, of just that, I'm going to call it an awakening of like, whoa, this is just how I've been showing up and how I've been acting and behaving as a way to be okay and to be, sometimes it's how the people around you expect you to be as well. Mm-hmm. And they definitely play into that. And so it was fun to watch you have that recognition of like, I don't have to be that. Like, I don't have to play that role.
Because I had judgment around that too, right? I had shame, and that people didn't expect much of me in those spaces, which also bothered me, because I'm like, I'm doing all these things and yet you have no respect for me because I'm so forgetful, and you can't let go of the fact that I put the milk in the cupboard that one time. Like,
which any of us can do at any time. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes I'll catch myself doing stuff like that and I'm like, whoa, like, where am I?
Well, I appreciate you now saying like, if I start doing that, or if I start tripping or running into things, you're like, where are you? Like, get present. So I appreciate that check-in.
Yeah. Well, because I have to do that to myself too. I'm like, gosh dang, I could have saved myself some pain had I just been with myself and with myself in the moment. So I love it. Okay, so speaking of this, how does this play into yesterday in our live Tuesday adventure video? We talked about having our we were going to talk more today about having our needs met.
Asking for what we want.
Asking for what we want,
which is getting our needs met.
And it came about because we were talking about yesterday's adventure was an emotional healing adventure kind of day. It was an inside adventure, an adventure of the
heart,
rooting out all the caverns of the heart that haven't been explored for a while, maybe, or that some of the quietness has stirred up, or maybe it's some of the writing that you've been doing, and just certain things that are taking place that are like, and because it's really cold outside, it was definitely an inside kind of day. And so it just was fascinating as an observer to watch what was playing out, but then watching myself be pulled into it, because there's a part of me that still wants to fix things, that wants to make things better, knowing full well it's not really my place to make things better and that I can't fix it. It's just interesting to watch how my own stuff was tackled. So we were talking about this yesterday on our Tuesday adventure video, and just how ouchy and messy and sometimes painful healing can be at times. And that was yesterday. And so as part of that, it came up of how do we ask for what we want when we have these histories of not asking for what we want, or when we do, crap happens. And it's more than just being told no.
Are you asking? I'm not clear what you're asking.
Well, I was just prefacing like why that's coming up because we talked about it yesterday.
I'd love to know in the chat, do you feel like it's hard to ask for what you want?
Do you ask for what you want?
Yeah, that's another great. And if you are a person that asks for what you want, do you find that easy? And if if you're not a person that asks for what you want, what is it about it that feels hard?
I thought that as it came to my mind, another question of like, how do you feel about people who ask for what they want?
Ooh.
And when someone's asking for what they want, do you accommodate that or do you throw up roadblocks? Just a thought. I remember as some memories are coming back of when I very first started actually learning to ask for what I want, or to use my voice, that if no one else in the car is going to make a decision about where to eat and I have an idea, that I'm going to say, hey, I would like to go here. Like, I get so tired of all the wishy-washiness because we're afraid to hurt people's feelings, or we think it's not going to be validated, or which I understand. I lived it too. I still have to remind myself it's okay to ask for what you want. I have a very specific memory coming into mind of being in up in northern Idaho with some friends, and wanting to go to this place that I had eaten before, that sits on the river. It has the most. I don't even know if it's still around. I don't know the name of it. The most delectable clams in this buttery garlic wine sauce that just So I'm like, if no one's going to make a decision, then that's where I want to go. And it was really interesting to watch the reactions of the 3 other people in the car when I'm like, if you guys aren't going to make up your mind, we're going here. Like, and they're like, like, what? You're just going to make the decision? You're going to do the thing? I'm like, you all had an option.
Yeah.
And you chose to wishy-wash your way through it for whatever the reason. And it's okay. I think that was just a very stark memory of really learning to speak my voice in a group.
That reminds me of a story you told me about. I think it was your mom and your stepdad, and he's wanting something. I think like a soda, and he asked your mom if she wants a soda.
My mom was telling the story.
Yeah, or was it your mom?
Yeah.
And then so he's projecting on her that if it's what she wants, he's happy to stop, but she doesn't want that, so he's not going to stop for himself. And I think of like all the places that we do
stuff like that.
I did that too at your mom's with her new piano. I wanted to hear it played, but I didn't feel like I have enough to ask for that. So I'm trying to get you to either go play it or ask for it. I'm like, don't you want this? Don't you? Just my own projections of what I want, because I can't ask for it for myself. And it makes me giggle because your mom called that out.
Yeah, well, and we do that. And again, why not call this shit out? Why not say, I'm not comfortable? Well, and when it came to me, I'm like, I'm not playing. I haven't played in long enough now that I'm forgetting things. I'm forgetting a lot of things. And I'm to the point where reading the music is a little challenging, and I didn't have glasses, and Mitch was in the room and my mom was in the room, and I felt fully uncomfortable. I was like, I'm not.
Nope.
I'm not. And I was okay with not. Like, but if the situation were different, I would probably sit down and play. But yeah, it's just funny how we do that.
I mean, like, so for part of the question you had to ask me yesterday, like, why can't you just ask for what you want? And sometimes for myself, it's
I
like,
may have asked it like that too.
Yeah.
Because I was frustrated.
Frustrated. Sometimes I'm not even sure what it is I need or
that
I
is
want.
Valid. That is valid. Do you know what you want? Do you spend enough time with yourself, asking yourself, giving yourself permission to think about what you want, that you actually know what you want?
Or even allow yourself to want something.
Exactly. I think we have an idea sometimes, and there are other times when we're asked, it's like,
I have no idea. Like, it's blank.
So that's valid.
Yeah.
And that's valid for you too. And I would highly encourage you to sit down and ask yourself, what is something that I want? I want to drink a death water. I want to sit and scroll through my phone. I want an ice cream cone. I want clams from northern Idaho. Like, I want, spend some time with yourself and really honestly ask and write it down.
But I think some of this stuff doesn't even, if we're not aware, we're not even sure where it's coming from.
No.
Because part of what came out in that conversation is when you asked me, like, how old are you right now? And the number that came up was 12.
Yes, that took all day and a lot of tears and consternation between us to get to that point.
Yeah.
I don't say that. Like, just PS, when we talk about this stuff, we've already talked about it. And it is not a pointing of fingers. This is to say, when you're having these experiences with the people in your life and it's taking a long time, like, recognize that it's okay. It doesn't feel okay. It definitely isn't fun. But it took us a while to get to a point where I don't even know what that shift is that allows that to happen. But I will say, if you'll stick with it long enough and be patient long enough and look at yourself too, it's really beautiful moments come. So when I asked her how old she was, I was shocked at how I didn't expect her to say what she said.
Yeah. So what the first number that came up to mind was 12. And then what came out of that is like, why can't, I think you were still asking me, why can't you ask for what you want? Or like, I can't remember how it came up, but you're like, cause you think I'm not going to hear it. And I'm like, it's not that you're not going to hear it. It's like, sometimes you get shamed for what you want. Sometimes you get guilted for what you want. And how could you want that? And how can you be so selfish? And sometimes it's a physical reaction for when you ask for what you want. So from a little, I learned very quickly, you don't ask for anything. You don't ask to be seen. You don't, and you have to go through these manipulative ways to get your needs met. And I think that's why I was so sick as a kid, because the only way that I got attention in little bits, because that was like, if you're sick, you're kind of isolated. You have to go to your room.
Right.
You don't get TV. You don't, or you have to go so you don't get the rest of the family sick. That was kind of the vibe.
Okay, really quickly, I want to give shout out to the people I see watching. Susan, our sister from Salmon. We got our buddy Ray Baxter. We got Ashley Holman. Chris Hedrick. You guys, if you didn't see our interview with Chris, go to our YouTube page, The Righteous Rebels. It's also on the Facebook group, The Righteous Rebels, and it's on Spotify.
Yeah.
That's a great interview. And Chris is a marvelous, marvelous soul. She definitely knows she's done her work when it comes to this kind of stuff. So just thank you to those who are watching. And please share us out.
I'd be curious to ask Chris, like, where was that point that it was like, she's saying part of being bold. Yes. But were you always that way? Was it always easy for you to ask for what you wanted? And I'd be curious what that shift was.
Yeah, like, for those of you watching who know this place of like not having the courage to ask for what you want or the boldness, what was that shift for you? Do you remember the first thing you asked for?
I mean, what was that shift for you?
I think that shift for me at that point was I'm thinking back to the story I was just relaying of being in northern Idaho. I think for me, it was just a place of practicing being courageous and using my voice. Some things that happened when I lived in, we were still up in Sugar Salem, Idaho, and some really hard things happened. And it's a small town, and I was accused of some things that were false accusations, but the kind that to make you want to slink and hide in corners. And I think it was a place of recognizing, like, I'm not who I'm being accused of being, and one, I haven't done the things. And I think it just tapped a place in me that it was important to start using my voice. Like I know that I'm a big soul. I know that I have a big purpose on this planet. And it's always fascinating to me when that gets squished and feels like it's snuffed a little. And so at that point, I think I'd been taking we had just been in a class and I was feeling empowered because we talked about using your voices and our voices. And I was with people that I felt safe sharing it with. It was with who I was married to at the time and our neighbors. And I think it's always been there. Just like it is for you, I don't know that I can answer that question.
So are you saying that after that class that you've re-felt the importance of practicing
I
that
think
more?
so. I think when I was there, I got another really good look at who I am inside, what my heart is, how it speaks to me, how my soul speaks to me, how I want to show up on this planet, which means I've got to use my voice, and I've got to speak for myself, and not care what other people say or think or do, and in regards to me. And I think that experience of that time was so stark and painful, and it was just it was one of several events that would then start taking place, that where I would have to use my voice, where I would have to know how to stand on my own and be okay with other shiz that would then take place.
So I want to go back to that question of like, how do you feel when other people ask for things?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, for me, sometimes I'm like, what hell right do you have to ask for that? Like there are parts of me that have felt like that. And because it's like, well, I can't do that for myself. But when I'm in
like audacious,
right? Like, how dare you? How dare you ask for what you want? Like we do that. And then there are places when I'm in a more healed place, and I am either in a place of knowing it's okay to use my voice, even if I'm not, or in a place of where I'm actually using it, and then somebody asks, it's like, well, sure, let's see. And sometimes it's more of a, let's see what we can accommodate. Like, I'm not sure I can do the whole thing, but maybe I can do that. Or sure, let's do it. Let's go for it. Like, you can absolutely. And when I'm in those places, watching other people ask for what they want is empowering. Whereas if I find myself in a lower energy state or a less emotionally healthy state and someone asks for what they want, I kind of just want to say, F you. Like, why do you think you can do that? Knowing full well that I can too.
Yeah.
It's just setting aside or setting down the blocks that are taking place between trusting myself and trusting that I can have what I want. We need to restart your PC. No, you don't.
Next century. Okay.
I love it. That was crazy. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
How about for you?
I think I'm still learning that it's safe to ask for what I want. Because places that I have made those efforts to ask for what I want, there's a lot of like, you're so entitled and who are you to ask for that? And
right, because we do that.
My efforts have been minimized or twisted or whatever. And I start to re-believe that I'm who am I to ask for what I want or what's rightfully mine. But I think just having a safe space to practice that. I don't always think of it because I think I've trained myself so well to be like, what does everyone else want? What does everyone else want? Because it's honestly safer, because to ask for what you want, you have to be vulnerable.
What?
Yeah. What? And that's hard. But it doesn't have to be, but it still can be hard because there's this opportunity for rejection.
Oh, and judgment, and all the things that we become so afraid of because it's trained into us.
I think of my grandma though. So before my grandma got sick, she was really good at asking for what she want, and it never felt pretentious. It never felt I remember once she came to visit me. I had my little girl and my little boy. He was just maybe a couple weeks old, and I was feeling what I was talking about in the beginning of this, of like just being rushed, and we have to get there on time, and I was trying to rush her, and I remember this like it was yesterday, and she's putting on her makeup, and she just sits down, and she's like, and just ignores me, and she's going to continue, and she's not going to be rushed, and she's just staying in her power, and she's not going to let me bombard her with my anxious energy. And that moment sticks out so much to me. And I wasn't, because it's my grandma, I wasn't angry. I couldn't boss her around. I just got to respect it and honor that space for her, and that, like, really checking with myself, what was I really rushing for? What was I making such a big deal in that moment? So I look at her as an example. I still feel like it feels audacious to ask for things, but I'm trying to practice that a little bit more.
Yeah. I would still love to know what it feels like for you to ask for things. And I also would love to hear about how you feel or how you respond or react when someone else asks you for something, whether it's your kid or it's another adult or a coworker, or, because I feel like maybe sometimes too, depending on the circumstance or situation or who's asking, we also may respond differently. I would love to hear about it. And can you imagine how different the world would be if we could ask for what we wanted and we granted when other people asked for what they wanted, to as much as we can, with, because sometimes, I could ask you for $1 million. You got to be realistic too. Like, start with, hi, I could really use a hug right now. Or, hey, my hands are full. Could you open that door for me? Instead of trying to figure it out by yourself. Or, hey, I could use a little time out. I'm going to go take a bath. Not that you're asking for permission for that, but you're letting them know what you want and that you're going to do it.
Or, hey, did you notice that this time I didn't react this way?
You know what? I think it's really beautiful. We talk about that a lot because it is important to be recognized, but to ask for that support and that recognition is totally okay. It's totally okay. So again, I'm just going to go back to take some time to sit down with yourself, turn on some fun music, maybe pull out a fun little snack, and pen and paper. Get color pens if you want to, and make it fun. Why? Stop disturbing. It said do not disturb, but it's disturbing. It's interrupting. Take some time to sit down and interrupt the belief of I can't have what I want. And start getting really familiar with what it is that you want. And write down things like, I would really like some popcorn. I want a hug. I want to be heard. I want to speak. I want to draw. I want.
Well, that brings up a really great point. Like, can we even admit those things in ourselves? Like, how often do we just focus on everyone else that we don't even know what we want for ourselves?
Well, that's so absolutely, and that's so fascinating. Like, I'm having a battle with myself of like, do I want to say what is poking me to say? You got to get really brave with yourself. I ask people when I'm coaching them, we make a love list of all the things that you love, and at first it starts out when we're doing these exercises. I love peanut butter sandwiches. I love watching the birds. I love watching the snow as it blows off the roof and makes it like glitter in the sky. I love my person. I love my kids. I love that I'm healthy. I love that. But how often do we actually write down like, I love kissing, or I love making love, or I love wandering the house naked, or I love, we're so afraid to actually write down all of the things that we love. And so that's what I would say to you was, I'm itchy because now I'm nervous. When you're writing your want list, write that stuff down. I want to be in a loving relationship. I want to be in a relationship where I want to be with my person physically, and enjoy that. It's okay to feel those things and to say those things and to acknowledge those things, because then it's a lot easier to acknowledge them and honor them in other people. If we have judgment inside of ourselves about them, we are more than likely going to judge people outside of us for those very things. So that's my thought there. Sit down, take some time. Make it be fun though. Like, if this isn't a laborious task, get in touch with what it is you want. And sometimes the answer is no. And sometimes it's not right now. And that's okay. Like, recognize those things, but it's okay to ask. And it's empowering when you ask.
So it brings me to a quote or something I read by this poet I just love. She happens to be from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I found out the other day. But she writes this thing about I want to know who you were before the world told you who to be.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know who you were before you started believing your flaws. I want to know who you were before.
My mind is screaming like, how the hell do I know that? That happened when I was so little. Like, that stuff was trained out of me when I was so little. Like, it makes me want to have a tantrum. And then I think of my 2-year-old grandson, and I think, that's who I was. That's who you were. Like,
right? That's what I'm getting at. Like, there was a time, once upon a time, that we asked for things without constraint, without judgment, without all of that.
We have to share the. Can we share the story?
What story?
Like, yesterday, the text message with the video of Baylor.
Go ahead.
So it's like, who are we? And I think this is part of what plays out in me and why I love Tuesday Adventures. And I love that I've created that space for myself and that I invite you into it, or why I love creating different adventures and retreats and such, because it's the playful nature. We have forgotten that piece of us. So yesterday, I love this. I get a text message and my daughter's like, so I'm cooking dinner, and Baylor, who's now like 24 months old, like, he's 2, a new 2-year-old. And she goes, he gets suspiciously quiet. She said, I look over and I see this. And she sends me a video of it. And he's got his car track, like his Hot Wheels car track, laying along the wall. And he's got some cars lined up. And he's got this little, those little toys that you sit on them and you turn the wheel, and that's what maneuvers the vehicle. He's got that turned over on its side, and he's laying on the ground with his head against the tracks and his feet up on the toy, and he's doing this. Like waiting for his mom to see him and watch him. And then he takes a break.
And his foot is up on the little cart.
Like, so freaking funny. That's who we are. That's who we are. That's who we get to be. But we have to allow ourselves to be it, and we have to allow other people to be it. I totally want to go on a rant, but I don't even know what's going to come out. So
that's okay. Let it go. This is part of being who you are, right? And practicing what you just invited people
it's our right to be who we were born to be. That's what I'm going to say. And all that playfulness that you feel inside you, or that you stuff down so freaking far you can't even feel it, that's who you are. But it nudges. it nudges, it pokes at you. You know it does. Because it wants to be heard, it wants to be seen. And I think that's part of what comes out in these moments. We all do it. We all have it in different ways. It shows up in different ways because it's saying your 2-year-old or your 3-year-old is still in there begging to get out and play in a way that just is free and creative and expressive and just fun and beautiful. And we think we have to be all grown up and professional and bullshit. I'm tired of it.
See?
Ask for what you want.
That's good.
I'm still learning. I'm still practicing. Does interruption come into?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
That's another day.
Okay. I love it.
I just appreciate that that you can share it that way, and that what comes up for me as you're sharing that is the places where we want to ask for things. And I think you called it practiced insecurity.
Practiced insecurity.
And it's a way to not, almost to like teach yourself not to want things, and to build your own shame story around it. So you just kind of shut out that part of yourself and don't ask.
Yeah, it's the cage we build for ourselves. We know the perimeter of where love ends and we're off on our own in the big, wild, scary world. We know that if we stay in that perimeter, that's where we get acceptance. That's where we get love, even if it's not really love. It's love in the best way that someone might know how to take it. It's attention. It's attention. We all want attention. Like, if you're screaming at me that's bullcrap, that's bullcrap. We all want attention. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be acknowledged. We want to be loved. And sometimes we think it only comes inside that parameter or inside of that cage. And I'm here to tell you, as scary as it can be sometimes, stepping outside of that, trusting that thing that you see out there that's calling you, you know what it is. You know what I'm talking about. There's that thing out there. Whether it's a light on a hill or it's a tower or a tree, something's calling you. Maybe it's a country, maybe it's a gig. That thing is calling you for a reason.
But it's easy to ignore that call if we just build that. You're calling it the perimeter, but it's like you don't allow yourself to know anything outside of that. Like we'll tell ourselves we don't know anything. And we don't acknowledge our own inner callings, inner desires, we refuse to acknowledge those pieces, and we put up blinders.
Well, and because we believe we have the practiced insecurity of that's the only place we can find and get what we need.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to feel like that for a while. Like stepping outside of that, I will tell you, can be really lonely. It can feel really lonely. And it feels like you're wandering, and it feels like you're never going to, like, you just want to go back to that thing that you know, but you know you can't go back to it. Trust it. We want freedom. We say we want freedom, but when we get it, we don't know how to handle it. Trust that you can handle it. That as you move towards that thing, you learn how to handle the freedom and what it actually means. And I can't tell you what it actually means because it's different for everybody. It feels different for everybody. But it does allow your 2 and 3-year-old to be like, because you're bringing your energy back into yourself. You're bringing it back into a place that's actually hearing yourself, feeling yourself. You feel at home here. You don't need what's out here, except for maybe like 10% of the time. Like, we need other people. We need connection. I'm not saying that. But a lot of things, it's right here. It's right here. And we point to this thing that beats in our chest, but it's right here. Trust it. Have fun with it. Be silly with it. And if you need some assistance, reach out. We'll help you.
All right. I think that wraps this up nicely.
Nope. This this. You can find this book on Amazon.
So this is a book for anyone who has ever felt like a villain in their world, who's worked really hard at protecting a story and being a hero in other people's stories. Whether that's you think that you can save them, you think that you can change them, that you see the potential in them, or you're wanting to be something that doesn't necessarily align with who you really are and who you want to be.
I mean, think Maleficent, think Cruella de Vil. Like,
we all have a story.
We all have a story, and they were made to be a villain. People need a villain.
Yeah. Until
they don't.
So, it's not like anything I've written before. It's very different.
Wait, you wrote this?
Yeah.
That's who LSL is?
It came from a conversation. I had started this project a while ago, and then life happened, and I had this conversation with a friend a couple weeks ago, and it struck me so hard.
Well, we've talked about the concept of being someone else's villain for about a year now.
Yeah.
And so to actually see it right here, like those thoughts, this is raw.
It's a quick, easy read, but it's one of those ones that you can open it up, pick a page, and that's like maybe what you need to hear today.
It's really reflective. It's very honest about your feelings. It's courageous. It's bold.
It's what I have to tell myself and remind myself, because the pattern to be the hero and look like the good guy all the time is so ingrained in me. So this is for people who struggle with people pleasing or wanting to be perfect or
don't know how to ask for what they want.
Yeah. So right now it's super on sale on Amazon.
Wait, are you asking for what you want right now?
Yeah, I'm totally asking for what I want.
Okay, listen up and take action.
It's on Amazon. I'll drop the link in the comments. It's 99 cents. I'd love a review. And
I'm going to ask for what I want. Go to Amazon right now. Click the link that's in the comments. Order this book. It's 99 cents.
On Kindle, and it's like $5-6 in print version. So
you can like skip a latte, buy a book. Like, help create miracles. We would love to have the reviews, but also it also helps with other things. If you will go at, like, I'm trying with marketing, help us market this book, share it out. Where have you felt like a villain? Where do you currently feel like a villain?
Right.
Who do you know in your world that feels like a villain, that could use something real and raw like this? They go, oh my gosh, I'm reading my life on the pages of a book. And they can go, oh,
I'm not freaking alone.
I'm not alone.
All right. Well, thanks for that. And it was a good conversation today. I appreciated that.
Yeah, thanks. I never know what's going to come out of these. It makes me a little bit nervous, but a whole lot excited. And it's funny, like, I'm just going to tell you, sometimes judgment wants to come in. And you just go, this is what we practice. We practice making human normal again. And that you get to experience the full band of human emotions and experiences, knowing that you're loved, you're appreciated, your experiences have value and they have worth. And there are people who need to hear them. And that when you can share them and ask for what you want, you allow other people to do the same. You kick the door open for them, or you crack it enough that they can kick the door open for themselves.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, we have more comments over here. We haven't seen.
She's Natalie. I didn't know you were on YouTube. We didn't see this comment because we blew up the screen.
Oh yeah.
So Natalie commented, I used to think that
Natalie as badass blind woman.
I used to think I was a burden if I didn't do it or get it myself. Now my relationship with universe is teaching me so much about meeting my needs without depending on anyone else.
Right.
And she's like, I want you both to know how much I love you.
Aww.
We love you, Natalie.
We love you too. And we love your experience. I love learning what I get to learn, because I get to witness your experience and have it in my own world, and how it shifts and shapes things for me in a different way. to see things differently inside of myself, and not just with my physical eyes. So thanks, Natalie, for that. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, all of you. We appreciate you. We love you, and we honor your lived experiences, and we would love to hear about them. So with that, we're going to say, be bold,
be courageous,
be a rebel. We'll see you soon.